The line that my fictitious station Havant Aclew is based on is that from Chichester to Portsmouth on the old London, Brighton and South Coast Railway, and most of the signal boxes on that line were of the hipped roof variety, but not all of them. Some had gable end roofs and looked very similar to this Ratio kit, which is one of the reasons I'm using it. I'm hoping that painting it in Southern Region green and cream colours will transform it and give it the appearance I am looking for. The kit doesn't come in a cardboard box but in a clear plastic packet. Don't destroy the packet as you will need some of it for glazing the windows. The instructions comprise 2 sides of paper with drawings showing what goes where and the recommended order of construction. The parts come already pre-coloured and the kit can be assembled as is, but in my normal fashion I wish to paint the pieces before assembly, and this shot shows them after the primer coat had been applied. And this shot shows the pieces after painting appropriately, with the woodwork in Southern Region green and cream and the windows in white. The first stage is to assemble the cabin. The front and side cream panels are fitted from the back onto the green parts, and a fair amount of filing was required to ensure a snug fit. It may well have been that I was overzealous with the application of paint onto these parts. I used a primer coat followed by 3 thin top coats, but once fettled the 4 walls went together quite well. I deviated from the instructions at this point as I found it easier to apply the glazing to the window frames whilst they were still on the sprues, rather than apply them once the frames had been fitted to the box. The downside of doing it this way is that they needed a lot of filing to fit into the window frames. Whichever way you do it, fixing the glazing is not easy, as there is no room for error as the measurements are very tight. However, as these are probably the parts we notice the most on the completed model, it's worth taking time and ensuring that they look right. As you can see, I have already weathered the window frames before fixing them to the cabin walls. I think the otherwise excellent drawings supplied with the kit are incorrect regarding some of the windows. The left-hand side panel and the right-hand side panel should show 2 number 20 windows and 1 number 19, not the other way round as shown on the diagram. The next stage is to assemble the base of the signal box and fit the steps. It may be me, but it was not obvious at this stage whether the floor should sit on top of the walls or between them, hence the overlarge gap obvious in the pictures. Building the steps is also a little fiddly, and I did break 2 of the treads, but was able to fashion some new ones from thin plastic and replace them, and I defy anyone to spot which are the originals and which are the replacements. Fitting the railings round the platform at the top of the stairs is not easy and would benefit from some more anchoring points, but I think the end result is okay and certainly acceptable at normal viewing distances. The roof is assembled next, and the only difficult part here is ensuring the chimney is straight. I didn't quite achieve it, so if anyone asks, I shall just say the weather has been extremely windy lately and the chimney stack has shifted slightly. If you want your box to look brand new or maybe just recently painted, you can skip this step, but I like all my structures to look as if they have seen some use and not been cleaned for a long time. I mix up a very thin wash of an appropriate dirty colour and apply it liberally all over the cream and green areas. Once it is touch dry, most of it is then removed, leaving dirt behind in areas such as the gaps between the planking and around the doors. The removal is done by taking a cotton bud and moistening it with thinners. Some of the thinners are wiped off on a kitchen towel or equivalent, and the nearly dry cotton bud gently rubbed over the model. Pico supply a sheet of coloured card for interior detailing. Simply cut the pieces out and glue to the interior of the cabin using PVA glue. The railings to the steps are similarly weathered, which nicely tones down the bright southern region green. The three main components are then glued together, ensuring that all sides are square. My earlier query about the interior floor of the cabin is now answered. The cabin walls fit outside the floor. I didn't use the base supplied in the kit, but instead made my own up of 1.5mm plasticard. The base was painted dark brown, and when dry, Javis Scenic Scatter in various colours was glued on using a dilute mix of PVA. Pico include gutters and downpipes in the kit, but the methods of attaching them to the signal box were unclear and seemed rather problematic for a bodgeller such as me. So I came to the conclusion that no gutters and downpipes would probably look a lot better than badly fitted ones, so I left them off. At normal viewing distances, they don't notice. Did you notice they were missing before I mentioned it? I decided not to use the moulded nameboard on the front of the kit, as I thought it was too small for my requirements. The southern region use much bigger signs on their signal boxes. So I built a nameboard out of 1.5mm plasticard and painted it and weathered it in the same way as the green on the cabin. The name Havant Aclew was produced using Microsoft PowerPoint and printed on glossy photo paper. The name was attached to the nameboard using blue tack, and the board temporarily affixed to the box for videoing, again using blue tack. I have had a few very minor niggles with this kit, and it did not go together quite as easily as the Pico platform shelter that I have built previously. But I think the end result is great. Not Great Western, as Ratio intended, but just right for my layout set in Hampshire. That's all for now. See you next time.